Hi, my name is Vance, and this is my week 3 video submission for the week 3 coding assignment. Just going to go over a few things that we did, discussed in class, and some of the struggles I faced along the way. So right here, you'll see I initially did the sample questions on there, so that's my bad, but I left it on there because it's good practice. So on question 1, we were told to designate a new array. I did so with ages. They supplied the values of 3, 9, 23, 64, 2, 8, as you can see, and so forth. From there, we were told to dynamically subtract the value of the first element of the array in position 0 from the last position. So I did so by taking console logging the array, identifying the last position of the array with ages.length minus 1, and position 0, 93, subtract 3, and we get 90. Then we were told to add a new value to the array. I did so by using the unshift method. Added it to the first position. Realized that's no longer the best way to do that, or if it was ever the best way. 60 now being in the first position, taken from 93, we end up with 33. Third part of this equation, we were told to use a loop to iterate through the array, calculate the average age. So I used the for each method of the array, started with the sum of 0. At every element in the array taken, use the sum, added the element to the sum, and repeated the loop, so forth until we get our total sum. I then created the variable average sum divided by ages.length, which gives us the value of our array, or the number of items in our array, and I console logged average. So that gives us a total of 32.22 repeating. From there, question 2 was to create an array with the values named Sam, Tommy, Tim. As you can see, we were to do something similar from there on. We were to console log the average number of letters. I did so by, again, creating the average variable. And this time I used the join method for dot length divided by, again, the number of items in the array, names.length, and console logging the average. And this value here gives us 3.833. Say we have an additional string here. Make it a little bit longer. Timothy, throwing off the curve a little bit. Cycle that again. And that gives us 4.28. As you can see, that also affected the next part of ours, which was to concatenate all the names together separated by space. Again, I use the console.log names.join with the space identified here, and that gives us all the individual names. So from there, question 3, how you access the last element of the array, array.length minus 1, since we're starting with a zero-based system. How do you access the first element of the array? Array brackets 0, zero-based system, 0 always identifies the first position. Question 5, create an array called names length. So for this one, we were supposed to input the previous array or create a function to determine the amount of letters in each array. So I created the function names length count. The parameter is an array. From there, I identified the let names length variable as an array, and I used the for loop. Again, starting with the base of 0, I greater or less than the array.length, incrementing by 1. Then return names length, console log the names length, and I input the names array in there to identify which array I am trying to determine the length count of. That gives us 735,437. And now question 6. Write a loop to iterate over the names length array, calculate the sum of all the elements. Again, we use the for each method just to determine the sum of all the letters in the name. Originally it is now 30. Wasn't that before we added Timothy? $23. So again, we use the for each method, started with the sum of 0 for the name sum. Again, calculated every item, added to the original name sum, and then we calculated that. I actually did the name sum total and then as well as the average names, 3.833 again, just to double check my work. This one actually I had quite a bit of trouble with. I couldn't figure out the best way to do it until we watched the week 4 videos on arrow functions, and thankfully that covered quite a bit of my troubles. So we use the arrow function, create it by let function say hello with the parameters a, b. The arrow function, let the results equal a string. We use a for loop to determine the amount of times we would actually concatenate the words. So for let I equals 0 to the second parameter b, which is down here 3. So if we change this 3 to 4, save that, and it should up here go from 3 hellos to 4. Then we console log the function, the arrow function, to actually get it to print. Question 8, we did a whole name function, create a whole name from the parameters of the first name and the last name, created the variable full name equals first name, with the space in between concatenating that using those last name. And we console log the full name. Then here we initiate the function, pushing the values Tiny and Tim for the first name dot last name. Maybe he has grown up and he is now Big Tim. Maybe he didn't, maybe that was just aspiration. All right. Here was basically the same problem as up here finding the sum of the array. So I use the same method. Just put it inside of a function. That sum array, number array. We created the array. We created the function with the parameters of that array. So we console log that and we call the function. Prints total of 8.33. If we add a, probably help if I type it right. And that is the wrong array that I was discussing. All right, so we did Tiny Tim. Question 9, write a function that takes the array of the numbers and returns true if the sum of the numbers is greater than 100. So that is line 124. Got a little bit confused there, sorry about that. So we did a console log true. I didn't do an else statement and if it was necessary, but if we delete this, we should lose this true above the 833. And there you have it. Add 75 and we get that true back. Question 10 is what I was originally discussing. I don't know how I messed that up. Right, so this is the summary of the array average or console logging, creating a function to console log the average age. This time we created ages too, same thing as what we did earlier with the ages variable. We just put it into the function and then call the function using that array ages too. From there, we get the same 8.333 repeating. Verify that is dynamic, 21.25. Here was a little bit more difficult, but I think I just made it overcomplicated. We were to find the values, the average value of two arrays, and console print true if the first array is greater than the second array. Again, going back to my favorite for each method for my first array, document the starting point of 0. Well, first we created the first array, second array, create the function with the parameters of those two arrays. Doesn't necessarily have to be those two arrays. We could have pushed those in down here, but I didn't do that. Creating point sum1 equals 0, and then again we loop through every element using the for loop, the for each loop. I did that 2 times for the first array and second array within the same function. That way we can have both of those averages in the same function, and then I simply did a if statement. First average is greater than the second average, we will console log and return true. That is that one. The last question was create a function for will buy a drink, create using Boolean statements. Let is hot outside equals true. Money in my pocket is $20. Use an if statement if it's hot outside and money in the pocket is greater than the cost of the drink, which is $10.50, a little overpriced. So we'll console log true. Call the function and we have true. So say if I'm falling on hard times, I had a parking ticket I didn't know about, and we should console log that, but and this is where I find out that I didn't actually test this dynamically. This is my video. I will get that taken care of before it is uploaded to GitHub. Thank you.